could. How do you think they're both looking coming into the actual competition today?
Without saying their loot, I think they're looking pretty good. I think the casters got really geared. We had some of the tanks get geared. A couple of their healers got like all the pieces in there, so it's going to be interesting to see. I want to see what they single tank, what they solo heal, the trash they skip, and of course, who's going to pump.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Sarth, like we were saying yesterday, day one, even though it was just kind of a blast through each of the dungeons, get whatever gear you can, it was actually really cool to see how these teams were starting to strategize, how they could even eke their eye level up the smallest amount or set themselves up for the gear that's going to drop today. What do you think we can expect from this speed run that we're going to be seeing from both of them, Sarth?
Yeah, I'm just like Crick said, I'm really excited to see what they can pull off. Yesterday, they've had one round of just doing the heroics. So they started out with really terrible gear. A lot of them still have 316 gear. I was just looking. So they're going to go in there. Whatever they actually were able to get will play a massive difference in what they can pull off today. The two teams, as anyone that was watching yesterday, or if you weren't here, are going to be None of the Above versus Progress, the two top teams in World of Warcraft Classic. The two most acclaimed guilds in progression and speedrunning, going head-to-head in this 10-man competition to clear all of the Cataclysm raids. And the loot definitely can play a huge difference. Some players will do a lot more damage than others just because they got loot. So we're going to be able to see how that goes. And over on the side of None of the Above, a few of the DPS got a lot of gear, but over on the side of Progress, their main tank, Visp, she literally, I feel like she got almost everything. And I was looking at her gear a second ago. Other than her one trinket, which is actually 316, almost every other item is a heroic piece. So she's going to be able to pretty much survive as much as they want to throw at her. And it's going to be a lot now. Today, we're going to see how much they can pull off, and especially a lot of skips, because the bosses are probably less dangerous today than what the skips are in the speedrunning. So I'm excited to see how it is, and I'm curious what you think is going to go down today, Rook.
I mean, we're going to have to see, right? So they are going to be running these both on normal. And while at first that might seem like, oh, really normal? I mean, it seems like you'd have more of a challenge with heroic. Because they came in with such low eye level, the gear so rough. I mean, they're kind of proving a point here. Both of these teams opted into this. They decided on that normal themselves with the time frame and with the RNG of that gearing yesterday in those heroic dungeons. So the challenge is still there. Sarth, just like you're saying, if they goof or if they mess up some of these skips, if they, fumble it and they just aren't able to actually land what they need to, that's going to cost them seconds in a competition that has no seconds to spare, because these two are going to be just going head to head. Goliath versus Goliath, as we were talking about yesterday. And even here on the desk, we've got a bit of the competition as well. I mean, Sarth, you're in None of the Above, and Crix, you're in Progress. So, I mean, both these teams are going to have to bring the heat. I mean, it's no joke, both on the desk and in the competition. They're going to be racing as fast as they can to bring victory home to either team. I mean, Crix, with Progress, what do you think with these players? What are some of their greatest strengths in speed running, and what's going to kind of secure them victory if you're going to be cheering? I'm sure you're going to be cheering for them.
Yeah, I think I like both the teams, and I think they're both going to be doing, if I had to guess, the exact same skips. The only difference from them is their comp, where one's running 2 hunters and the other is running a mage. Other than that, I think they're both probably going to do the same thing. I think Progress is going to win, of course. For sure, Start disagrees here, but I think there is. Start, do you think they have a shot or what?
I mean, None of the Above has won all of speedrunning, so if track records are something to go by, Noda is definitely the favorite to win in speedrunning. But that being said, at the same time, as people might not know, None of the Above is not going hard in Cataclysm, and all of the players that will be progressing into the competitive scene in PvE in Cataclysm are actually playing with Progress now. So after Wrath of the Lich King ended, None of the Above was purely focused on speedrunning there and won every single tier there, whereas Progress has won pretty much every tier of progression, so races to world first, almost consistently. And so now it's going to be an interesting, little hurrah, friendly bout, and back and forth. So I'm obviously rooting for Noda, but I love both of these teams. I've been friends with almost everyone playing in both of these teams for a long time. I'm really excited to see what they pull off today.
Brooke, do you have a say in this, or are you just kind of sitting in the middle right now? Just
yeah, she's like, choose.
That's literally crazy. I was going to say, I'm sort of the middle ground here. You know, I love both teams. Yesterday, we got to see both of them neck and neck going through, even though I think Progress took their time a little bit more with some of the runs they were doing. But I mean, as we looked at there with the gear breakdowns, both of them came out of this with some really great picks. They weren't able to get really much of anything great from Baradin at the end of the day, but they were able to get a lot of other drops that we were even shocked. You know, double trinkets coming out, some of those key picks. We saw Devil completely kitted out, obviously. But as you can kind of take a look here, even with Stet, right? We're seeing what they have, what sort of gear they were able to get. And really, they're trying to make it work, because if they didn't get those optimal best in slot drops, they're now trying to figure out, okay, well, what can we try to get from these raids that we're going to be running through? How can we kind of, you know, make this work? Can we get any tier? Can we get anything like that without getting some of those other drops, but getting some other really good ones? And I mean, I don't know, Starth, looking at this with Stet's sort of setup here, what are you thinking about the gear spread today?
Sted got so lucky. He got the bow, which is amazing. He got trinkets, which are also amazing. He has like half of his gear is going to be heroic. Maybe, okay, so he got one trinket, but a few other people are using the key trinket, which is the one that he did get as heroic. And I think everyone has the 316 version when I was looking at it. So that's going to be a big upgrade and a lot more stats that he's able to reforge. A lot of the things about Cataclysm that is really nice is if you even don't get the best item for you, you can reforge them and change one of the stats to something that you like even more. So this giving more hit, and from the other items that drop for him, allowing him to go for more of a crit focus build there while hitting the hit cap. He's going to look really solid. He's going to do a ton of damage. And this is the team that has two hunters. I think we're going to see hunters do incredibly well as we're going to see some of like the Unholy DK do a lot of damage. Personally, I think that is what we're going to see a lot of. But yeah, Xander wasn't able to get it. Visp is probably the most geared character, it feels like. And I keep saying this, but she's the main tank. Her weapon, okay, she has a weapon. She has trinkets. I think she has one trinket that isn't amazing. Yeah, perfect. She literally is going to change the entire dynamic, I think, of the competition. And that's going to be the huge thing, is what can you pull off? Did your healers get gear? And did you get gear on your main tank? So they're looking really good. Crix, what do you think from the gear-wise? What is going to set people apart here today?
I'm looking at the casters more, and I'm looking at Hadougan, the Warlock over on Progress, and Take Note as well on. And it looks like they did end up giving him the trinkets. They gave him the weapons. Because at first they gave the trinkets to, you know, the placeholders, where they didn't give them to everybody whose it was. It was just kind of, and then they pass it. And both these Warlocks are looking like, I was talking to them earlier, and they have their mastery presets off. I'd be surprised if they don't start blasting this raid. It looks like they got a lot of the good Prebus too, which is solid. Doesn't seem like I said yesterday, they didn't get a lot of 346 gear, like the, you know, helm shoulders, stuff like that. But they got the trinkets and the weapons, which is a very big deal, because you can. Looks like they justice points a few of them, and then of course they can pick up the 333 gear from the vendor as well. The caster's looking really good, and so are the healers. That's pretty exciting.
Looking
Coming
good.
from someone who likes casters is looking very exciting for them.
I know, right? I mean, Crix, you're not just saying that because you've got your eye on it as a caster yourself, but you know, actually the casters really do have some good gear. They got a lot of the things that they needed yesterday to set them up. We're taking a peek right now over on None of the Above side, but I mean, even there we saw a lot of those drops that they were kind of looking for. So whereas None of the Above initially got some of those key items early on, there was plenty of time over the course of the day, Progress coming in, getting some of those key drops too, to the point where I feel like they are pretty well set up on either side. Nobody got a huge advantage with that final run yesterday with that first boss of Baradin Hold. So coming into day two, both of these teams can really just show off their skills, the skips, all of the incredible tricks they're going to pull out for this, as well as looking to see if they can get any of the gear that will drop from these raids, which they are able to equip as they run through. But let's go ahead and take a look at our day two lineup. So these teams are going to be racing through 3 raids from Cataclysm. And these were, as we were talking about yesterday, raids that really started to bring in this kind of hybrid mentality that we would see with the kind of future of raid and encounter design in World of Warcraft, as well as a lot of the classic aspects that so many people love. So we are going to be starting out with Bastion of Twilight. We're going to be going to Throne of Four Winds, and then we'll be heading to Blackwing Descent, where they will be facing the whole grand finale of this, Nefarian, one of the hardest bosses, one of the ones that poses the biggest threats for them in this race, but they're going to have to take him down to become Dragonslayers, true and true. I mean, Crix, looking at this, where do you think we might see in these raids some challenge? Are there any other sticking points like beside that big finale with Nefarian?
Yeah, besides the only thing I see them struggling on is the trash skips. And I don't think they'll struggle on that, but there's going to be a lot of good trash skips specifically in Bastion, well, both in Bastion and Blackwing, but where they can really just mess up. And that's going to be where I say it's going to be between two guilds who cannot mess up the skips, whether that's a hunter skip, invis skip, res skip, whatever they're doing. I'm just excited to see it. And I think Twilight, definitely you're going to have right after Valiona, the dragons. I think we're going to see some spicy skips there because both these guilds are going to try to do no trash at all. And that's what's going to be
as little as possible.
Yeah,
a lot of things that we see today, they're probably also gonna, like, anyone watching will probably end up employing in their raids. So we're gonna see some crazy techniques happen today, like some strategies that most people probably don't know about, things that we probably don't even know about. We might have seen some of the things they're doing probably from the inside, me and Crix, but it's going to be really fun. Speedrunning is all about innovation, and it's all about how can you do, like, the things that cost you the most time aren't usually the bosses within the speedrunning community. It's transit time, so movement between bosses, any sort of downtime if there was like RP happening on a boss, which isn't something we really have to deal with too much right now, other than potentially Nefarian. And then it's going to be like how you deal with the trash. And today it's going to be a lot of those skips, minimizing how much you have to deal with to reduce your amount of time in the raid itself. And those can get a little bit sketchy. One person being slightly out of position, or the most notorious is if someone is doing the skip by pulling the trash over to one corner and everyone else runs by, you're just like have a habit of buffing people. And you're like, if you're not doing something, you're like, oh, I'll press Horn of Winter or like Mark of the Wild or something, and that will put you in combat, ruin the whole thing, wipe everyone. So we'll see how they deal with it. These teams are very honed in on doing this, but it happens way more often than you think. So we'll see. I've definitely seen a lot of world records ruined by people messing up the skips. So we'll definitely see how it pans out today.
And just so that our viewers know, these teams don't have specific trash requirements. So while we talk about skips, they are mostly going to be looking to optimize time. And they are able to use pretty much all of the basic tools that you would use in speedrunning, maneuvering around, positioning, stealth, other, means of invis, all that kind of stuff, death skips, so on and so forth. So while they had some organization for what they could or couldn't do, we'll get to see them now put it into play as they kick things off here for this speedrun challenge. Crix, they're starting off. Here we go.
Yep. It's one of my favorite fights ever, just because of all the AoE you get to do. And right here you'll see the mage. Well, there's only one mage, but the mage and the warlocks will just carry this for a little while, as you can tell right now. It's just a very fun fight.
100,000 DPS from Take Note. Alondo already at 100k.
Very fun fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of cleave. Halphus Wormbreaker right here is a fight that he has like 5 ads that are all different, and they all technically buff the boss until you kind of unleash them and you take them down, and the boss then takes extra damage. So you pretty much pull it all on top of the boss as much as you possibly can, cleave it down so that it then debuffs the boss so he takes a ton of damage. And on normal, it's only, I think, 2 of them active right away. So it's a little bit of RNG for you to see a lot of that cleave damage isn't even setting them ahead on the DPS meters. We're seeing progress ahead, taking the boss down a lot faster, even though you see some people doing more damage on the side of none of the above, because it's all about effective damage here. And we're probably going to see our first skip right here in a second.
As see the first one going into it. Yep. Good loot drop. What are you crazy devil with another piece of loot? That devil is so geared right now. He's like almost full 346. It's kind of crazy to see that. You're gonna see him pull this. Usually they just pull this mob and they skip around the pillars to the left, right? Have someone pull it. So we'll see if they do that.
Yeah, in the race to world first here, because you do have that group that runs kind of right towards you. You can see on the left for Xander, that group runs right at you, and we're seeing right now on the right with Wendy's POV that you want to bring that out of like pretty much out of the way so the rest of people can potentially go by, but they are dealing with this. It's the next one that they really want to get rid of. They did have a death though. Cab already went down. You're seeing Ghosting grab the aggro of it on the left or on the left side there, and the rest of the group is running to the right. Ghosting actually dies kind of semi early, it feels like. I think everyone else should be good to get by
from him.
Yeah, all the paladins will, but he was in bubble.
Deals.
Yeah, I think they made it all the way through. Oh, they might not have made it all the way through. They're going to use the hunters to get through. So yeah, Ghosting's bubble might have gone out early. Whereas on the other side, Noda does make it through. Holy Palace Way makes it into the perfect position, does get the res just using his soulstone, goes back up. And yeah, that's just a little bit unfortunate, but Cab is in a good position. He'll be able to mass res everybody. That's the first skip that actually went wrong, like from the first
right away. Yeah, easier one too. That's not even like one of the harder skips too.
Yeah,
we did notice Thompson. I think Thompson's gonna do some good damage coming up on these next boss. He just got his best in slot offhand too, which is pretty nice. Mass res already goes off. One of my favorite things about Kata is that mass res. They can start pulling the boss here real soon after they rebuff quickly.
Yeah, you lose a lot less than you do. You lose a lot less than you do in other versions of the game because you now can resurrect everybody all at one time. You don't have to worry about LOS or distance. I mean, it's a massive distance. Technically, you do have to wait for that. But none of the above, almost at halfway on Valiona, pushing this. Both teams bloodlusting right off the rip on this boss so they can deal with it as quickly as they want. Both of these bosses do have a shared health pool, Valiona and Theraleon. Yeah, it is. I just look at it. Yeah. The damage meters, just like you were saying, take note, doing a lot here. They're just going to be pumping as much as they can.
That's part of that Warlock mastery set, which is why you're seeing these Warlocks burst so much. And like I said earlier, it's not just Cope. I think Warlock's going to probably be I think Warlock, I said yesterday, Warlock, Unholy, and Survival will be the three pumpers of the raid. And it's looking like that right now. Julius got a good amount of gear on the Unholy yesterday too, if I recall correctly. Whereas Take No got a ton. He sitting at 8 upgrades. I don't know how much Hadouken got. You're going to see him right here. The progress down, 20%? A little bit less than 20%. Progress catching up on the fight for them being behind right now. Or
the for DPS is actually kind of vastly different. If you look at both sides, the DPS over on Progress, I mean, they're closer to having that bloodlust, but they are actually catching up very quickly. They did it. That is the difference a bit of the gear that they got yesterday. Everyone is able to do quite a significant amount more damage. They're looking really, really juicy, definitely catching up. They didn't lose nearly as much time as I expected with that wipe.
Yeah. I don't know why, because the DPS pro is pretty even. It's nothing like too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, everyone on the side of Progress is like 25K or more. Everyone on the side of Noda right now around 21K. 2 people above 25K. This is the second boss going down. Progress is just a tiny bit behind. Snurk running ahead instantly. He will be doing the skip here, and you'll see him. He pulled the aggro on one of the mobs, and now he's going to run into the corner while everyone else runs directly by. We're going to see if the same thing happens here for Progress, and then he just goes invisible, camouflage, and runs out.
Noda gets the infamous Thoralian's mirror to drop from the Ellie Shaman, which is absolutely insane. Essence Hot Trinket dropped just now. And then Kia gets the main hand too. Don't know if I have time to enchant it right now or who they'll give it to, but those are both like absolutely. That mirror trinket is so big, it's crazy. Really surprised to see it drop.
The skip actually is probably going to save them. It depends on how much they pull with this ad, but this ad that Progress is killing, whereas Noda is running into the room and actually fighting as much as they can. I think pulling the whole room and bloodlusting the trash instead of using it on the boss. This is a huge pull.
Blow all cooldowns on the trash, even meta and all that.
Yeah,
it's a good call because this boss is not going to be hard. Definitely this trash pack is dangerous.
And the ad that they skipped is like the ad that has the most HP in this entire place. It takes so long. Look, Progress is just getting this ad down. Now they can move into the pull, into the room. And Noda is quite literally finishing the whole pull for the entire room. They're about to move into fighting the bosses now. They're going to go fight Council right away.
Progress starts to do the same thing and big pulls it. I wonder if they messed up that big pull with the skip. Or did they even try to skip it?
No, they didn't. They ran right into it. They didn't even go for the. So that's the first major strategy difference we've seen so far. Is Progress actually ended up fighting that and running into it. They did technically skip. There's a second one of those ads that is behind you, but Noda had Snurk just literally just ran right in instantly and pulled it out of the way of everyone else. And so they're looking really, really solid. They're already getting the first two ads to about 50%. This is Feludius and Ignatius. This is going to be basically an only elemental fight. This is fire and ice. Interestingly, the ones F and I are backwards. Feludius is the fire one, and Ignatius. Feludius is the ice one. Ignatius is the fire one, and they're going to need to bring these down. Visp goes down on the side of Progress.
On the Progress side too, yeah. Well, what's interesting is Progress did not lust that trash pack like Noda did. They just saved it, presumably for the boss, but definitely probably would have ripped that lust there.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, one team is looking pretty good.
Yeah, one's definitely looking good.
Oh, brutal there. Seeing that wipe. Do you think that's going to set them back? I mean, they already were struggling a little bit, but catching up with that progress. But how much time do you think this is going to cost them, Craigs?
It's going to be a big one. I'm sure they have some kind of wipe protection. If they do, they can master us and pull right away. They didn't finish the trash packs, though, so that's actually going to hurt time pretty decently right here.
Yeah, this is a lot more.
Which I hope they do.
This is a lot more painful than the wipe earlier. The wipe earlier, they had wipe protection in the sense that they could mass res and just it cost you maybe 10 seconds, maybe a little bit more, or maybe 20. But they caught up with the DPS on the boss. But Noda is already about to phase the boss into the final phase now that they've taken out all 4 of the ads, bringing them down to around 25% each. All of the ads will just combine themselves into Voltron. It looks like they don't really have much of wipe protection over on the side of Progress. Cab running back into the raid, and he will just stealth his way over to everyone, mass res, and get things going. Whereas none of the above gets their second lust or the time warp popping, which doesn't do anything because they're sated, but maybe somewhat no one actually is getting anything out of it, but might as well go for it. But Noda or Progress on the left side has to deal with all of those ads that they put in so much damage into. They spent a lot of time trying to deal with those, and they were all around like 11% HP. That's a huge time loss there, as Noda is
still very surprised they didn't lust that trash back, to be honest. I definitely was. We saw Noda lust it and had no problems with it. Strange they didn't.
It's a super intimidating trash pack too. I think as anyone that's done this raid, that it's so easy to slightly over pull in that room. Like you usually try to take it as easy and slow as possible, and if things go wrong, your entire raid wipes. They literally just took it all at one time, bloodlust, and sent it, and moving on towards Cho'Gall. We'll see if they end up
coming up right now.
Anything here.
The skip coming up from Noda right here. This is a skip we were talking about earlier. That can easily be messed up, but they look like they got it going. He's going to pull to the left while everybody runs to the right. And runs through it, so they're dodging between both packs in the middle, so they're going to Cho'Gall top pulling any trash. You got to be careful on the fight because you don't want to body aggro the side mobs, which you shouldn't have any problems with by just tanking him right here.
Yep, it very much limits the amount of space you have in this room. They have trash packs on their left, their right, and all the way behind them. So you can't really move around during this boss fight if you're doing this strategy. You're just going straight into the boss. Literally, they have not fought one pack of trash. Or they did. They won one pack. That is unavoidable. That's quite literally all. And I believe Progress will be doing the same thing when they get there. They have Ignatius and Feludius down to 70-ish, 65%, which are the first 2 bosses out of 4 that they need to deal with for the council fight. So the first phase of the council fight, they'll go through 3 phases, take out the first 2, then fight the second 2 individually or together, I guess, and then the bosses will combine. So Noda is looking very, very solidly ahead. That wipe definitely cost them quite a bit of time. Look, from your perspective, how does this look, seeing what's going on so far today?
Oh, I mean, progress, they're going to have to make some progress and hope that maybe there is a fumble over on Noda's side, right? That was a big time block for them. And I don't know if they were thinking maybe we need to use, or we want to use this Bloodlust for something at a different timing, so we don't want to use it on this pack, but it obviously cost them. They're working on it now. We're seeing Cho'Gall as well get to around that halfway point, so it very much looks like Noda is going to be the first one moving on to Throne of the Four Winds. But, I mean, it's not done yet, right? Both of these teams have the chance to continue going through this. And, I mean, I don't know, Starth, do you think that there are any points where Progress might be able to make up some time in the next 2 raids?
I think that Blackwing Descent has a lot more trash and therefore a lot more skips. Every single one of these skips can be messed up in the tiniest way. One person does one thing wrong and everything goes off. And it's interesting that we don't think we'd use Bloodlust on the side of Progress. So it looks like they're saving Bloodlust to use to finish the phase of the last spot, or of the council fight, whereas we're seeing Cho'Gall getting bloodlusted moving into the final phase. In the final phase of Cho'Gall, below 25%, they will actually just drag him to the throne, and I believe both teams will end up doing this. You'll pretty much just fight the boss on the throne, use some CDs for the raid itself to be able to keep everyone alive. And this boss is actually interesting because he makes you kind of throw up, and if you throw up on people, you do damage to them, you actually hurt everybody. So you have like this little timer that you'll need to just face away, but on 10-man they can just burn this down just as fast as they want. Thompson doing insane amounts of damage, and now they will actually all hearth out and head towards throne. So they're going to be moving here quickly. That is the first raid done. And on Heroic, there is one more secret boss at the end. But again, we are doing these on normal because of these teams having so low gear. And so now we are seeing a little bit of a catch up on Progress's side. The boss going down pretty quickly. But is it enough? They're definitely going to need to catch up. They're going to be waiting here to do another skip, I believe. And I'm not sure. Maybe they're going to fight this. Okay, now it was pulled. It was
right
pulled
now,
by
yeah.
Stead. Okay.
They're waiting for the hunter. Another thing about this fight was that with that throwing up thing is there's a mechanic that gives corruption. If you stand in mechanics, the Cho'Gall gives you corruption. You have a bar on your screen. It goes up over time. And every 20 corruption, a different thing happens. And one of them is that you would throw up. You know, the last one is if you have too much corruption, you're just spitting out shadow bolts at your friends and stuff. So it's pretty cool. I love that mechanic.
Yeah. Moving directly into Throne, we have the first pull on Throne and Cho'Gall on the left. Progress is doing a ton of damage over here on Cho'Gall. And for Throne is one of those interesting ones where it's like you get a lot of gear, but the second fight in Throne it's a long one. It can be a trek, and especially with the gear differential, the DPS we saw when they were head-to-head exactly on the same fights, Progress actually made up a ton of time by just killing bosses faster. So they definitely have more of a situation when there's something that has a crazy amount of HP, kind of a damage sponge, where they can catch up even just there outside of using different speedrunning techniques.
Yeah, Progress getting kind of close to these ads, though. If anybody moves a couple yards, they're pulling these extra trash packs. Surely be a wipe.
Yeah.
They got to be careful here.
That's
One
the
is
sketchy thing.
such a fun fight where you're fighting the boss and you have to jump over to the other platform to hit the boss in the intermissions. I love Daunting with 4 Winds. I like it way more than I thought it really would too. Like you said, really good loot drops from both bosses in here, so it could help them out a lot. And you know they have their bags full of gems and enchants and everything ready to put that piece of gear on if they get it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're moving on to the final boss using Bloodlust here on the side of None of the Above to fight Nazir. They're taking him down. Progress actually has lusted already on Cho'Gall. Instead of lusting during the final phase of Cho'Gall, they're lusting early. And so their damage is just very solid. They're very confident in being able to deal with the DPS check of the final phase, which is the only thing that's scary in here is going to be getting the boss down before you get overwhelmed, because you really do have such a limited amount of space in the room. As you can see that they are, like you were mentioning, if they move 3 steps to the right or 2 steps to behind them, they will over aggro and pull things. And we do have the boss going down on the side of Noda, everyone getting onto the final platform within Throne. Throne is this short raid, 2 bosses. Alec here is a really fun fight, but this boss has a crazy amount of HP.
I noticed so far both guilds have been just solo healing everything, which I tried, and they'll definitely be doing until probably Neff, I would imagine.
Yeah, just the Holy Paladin and the Blood Decay. We can actually see on the healing meters on the side of Noda right now, the Blood Decay, Windy is almost healing as much as Holy Palace Sway is healing. Like the Blood Decays can heal basically half of everyone else. The damage numbers over on the side of Progress look phenomenal, and they're getting quite a bit of blue. Xander getting his shoulders that might be able to turn that in. Yeah, they might have time to turn that in, but already at 70% over on Alakir, taking him down.
Very long fight. One of the longer fights of the tier too. Such a long fight.
Yeah. What's your favorite strategy taking down this fight? What do you think they're going to employ as they're dodging these tornadoes, these twisters that are coming around?
Well, usually you would have to spread out a lot on heroic because you have these ads that come up that do like actual a lot of damage. But on normal, you can kind of just have the tank pick them up and you guys just ignore them and slap the boss. It's just a very long fight, as you can tell. And that if one mess up, you're just have to redo the fight, and it takes too much time. I can't see anybody. Like I said, I don't think anybody's really going to wipe on the bosses. As you see, it's just going to be like trash backs, trash skips, and other stuff like that, like we saw earlier with the wipe.
Yeah, Progress making up time. They're already fighting the boss inside here. They got in here really, really quickly. Within seconds, they are instantly pulling the boss, which makes sense. You can see those tornadoes, those twisters on the right side, just moving around the room. Basically, you just need to dodge. There's a little bit of an opening as those move around, and they're moving into phase 2 at 25% on Alakir for None of the Above, which is a really cool section where he breaks the platform, kind of reminiscent of Malagos fight in Wrath of the Lich King, where he breaks the platform and now you have to be flying, where these squads will start. It looks like they're starting from the bottom, and the boss will kind of like on a Z axis, just like you'll need to move up and down as the boss either knocks you away or puts lightning where everything is on. So as they move together, they blow this up incredibly fast. Actually, that 25% was nothing. Wow, the difference between heroic and normal on HP values on this fight has got to be crazy, because that was insanely fast. Olando at 30k DPS. He has gotten.
We knew Olando would be slapping too, yeah, and he's got 2 pieces of loot since the raids have started as well, big pieces.
Yep, and there is a teleporter Murloc right outside, so they'll move right into Blackwing Descent. It'd be interesting to see what they go with. There is quite a bit of RNG that can happen in here that'll save you a bit of time, and that RNG will mostly come with what will either be the first or second boss, because they can decide which direction to go. They can either go right towards Magma, or they can go towards the Omnitron defense crew, and if you get one of the bosses that you prefer, because those bosses can buff you, if you get a good one, you'll save a ton of time. So we'll see what happens here, and we'll see if they even end up fighting any of the trash. It looks like you do have to fight one. Yeah, you do have to fight one, the first pack, but it looks like they soothed the ones on the left, or on the right, and you need to fight these so that you can even fight the boss. So there is two trash packs. These drudges, they're kind of scary. It's one pull, but they're definitely scary. You usually split them up like you're seeing here, because they will run to the person like kind of furthest from them. They'll run to the other tank, and they'll start doing like a whirlwind. That's a frontal. That's not also perfectly a frontal that absolutely can delete people. It's actually unironically, funnily entertaining, or very scary too. And Progress over here on Alakir at 62%. They already have Bloodlusted as well. They're in Bloodlust right now. Similar to how we saw the DPS over on Noda, they're looking at 30,000 DPS from the big pumpers. How is this towards your expectations so far, as we see Noda about to pull the first boss Magma in Blackwing Descent, Crix?
I mean, it's my expectations besides the progress wipe. So that's pretty much where we're at now. I think Magma's going to melt here. I know there's been bugs on the server, which I'm not sure if they fixed, where Magma slams his head the other direction. That would suck. I don't know if they fixed it yet. That was something that happened last week, so hopefully we don't see that. If they do, then that can slow them down a little bit. This is about where it is for the Noda side of things, yeah. I'm going to see if Progress can catch up a little bit as they go to Alakir, who's kind of melting. Like you said, that last 25%, usually a very long fight. It's kind of crazy. I forget the difference myself on normal and heroic, because we don't do normal much. See how fast the bosses are melting.
Yeah, and it's a good showcase of, like we mentioned yesterday, you don't need a lot of gear to be able to do these dungeons. There's a lot of, within the community, wanting everyone to have full prebis to even enter into a normal mode, but we're seeing these people that started out with very, very undergeared characters, did 1 day of heroics, not even a second day of heroics, 1 world tour, and now are literally speed running through this, taking Alakira out, all doing 25k DPS. They don't have that one warrior that was the giga pump on this fight with Alondo, but that was because there's so much cleave that you can do too. So we're seeing Magma at 56%, and all right, thrown down. Progress is going to move in and try to catch up now. They're a little bit behind, but there's a lot of places where they can make that time up.
Yeah. And with 2 set, looks like. You got the tier early, so you got the gloves and the shoulders. Or double shoulders.
Yeah, so they both squads went with giving the tier pieces to hunters. Actually, it looks like both squads ended up giving time to really go
turn it in though, to be honest. Like they're not gonna I can't see them going all the way to the vendor to go get it right now when they're just in a hurry. So
yeah, they're already in there. Here on the side of Noda, it looks like Progress going the same direction. They're going to do the same thing. They're actually going over towards Magma. Progress is fighting this chain wielder instead of skipping it like we saw from Noda. Noda actually skipped this. Well, Bloodlust during the exposed head, which will ignore the last phase of Magma. The boss taking extra damage here. They're literally going to burn down the boss. And now we're going to see if they're going to deal with any of the trash moving towards Omnitron defense system. But the first boss down on the side of none of the above, whereas Progress is now pulling in the drudges to deal with them while the chain wielder is at about 10%. It looks like they're even stacking them and cleaving, which is a big thing that they would only be able to pull off because Visp got so much gear. As Cab is moving out towards the left side, you'll see that Cab will get charged here in a second, but the stack and cleave will increase their damage, obviously, because you're hitting 2 targets at once. That's all effective damage. As long as Cab can live, and they're just using a Blessing of Sacrifice over there on him, it looks like everyone's going to be fine. That's actually very clean. And a skip here from
kind of killed that first grudge.
Yeah. Skip here from Noda, and they got Arcanotron first. So Snurk does go down. He might get battle res during the fight. Actually, definitely does get battle res during the fight. Snurk did pull all of the trash before Omnitron defense system over to the side. They used Bloodlust initially right away. Arcanotron is one of those bosses I was mentioning that does buff the raid. So if he drops the pool, there it is. This is going to be where everyone just gets into and does so much damage. This is a huge, huge advantage, and that is pure RNG, just getting lucky that this was the boss that was active. They are just like gonna take it. This is something that within the speedrunning community, you're probably going to see a lot of guilds like reset the dungeon before even starting to make sure that you have either Arcanotron or the poison one to fight it first. But yeah, already down to 56%. They're just absolutely blasting. Look at the DPS here, 40,000.
They got another pull right off rip too.
Oh my god!
Nice. Yeah, another one right our way. Got to be careful not to blow up the shield. Don't know how much damage it would do on normal.
I think they're just gonna.
We're gonna find out.
They got the poison next. They literally got both of the 2 that they really like. This is double the damage. The bosses are now taking extra damage because if you're in the acid pools, you actually do take more damage, but so does the boss. So they have the pools on the ground that they can sit in, while they also have the bosses taking extra damage. They burn through the shield. All of these bosses, once they phase, they go into it. They put a shield on, and you can see their kind of energy bars right below their HP bars. Once their energy bars get to halfway or full, they get a shield, and you usually don't burn through them because all of the shields have a different unique mechanic, but they do a ton of damage to you. And we're going to see another skip. They're skip out because they had to skip in here. This is where we're actually going to see probably even another one. We're going to try to see where the groups decide to go, whereas Progress is now at 50% on Magma. You can see that Stead was dealing with those ads that spawn on this boss. Here we're going to see, instead of waiting for the elevator on the right side, are they gonna rocket boot it? Are they gonna slow
Yeah, so I thought they were gonna do the rocket boot parachute.
Yeah, it looks like they actually just waited for it, and they're just gonna run through kind of slowly.
Usually you can do this. That's why probably the priest is up there real quick ahead of everyone else. Where is everyone else, actually? Notice that.
That's the question, right?
Oh, they all wait on the elevator. Yeah, they're letting him get ahead so they can do the suit skip, I'd imagine, on the dragon. These dragons take a long time to kill too. It was a good skip for them.
It's something that I think every group should really do. Is you can just soothe skip these dragons like every time. Like you were mentioning, they have a ton of HP. They take way longer than necessary to take down. So they're actually in an unlucky position right there and having to wait for it. Make sure that everyone gets across. Vasco makes the jump. Doesn't look like the dragon got brought in. And we're going to see on the side of Progress what is the order of the bosses that they deal with. But that's like a lot of luck. Moving into Chimeron here on the side of None of the Above, they're an entire boss ahead right now, and they had literally that was like the most beautiful RNG you could possibly have.
Let's see what Progress.
Are they going to skip this? It looks like they are. Yeah, they're pretty much most of these skips, and they do have Arcanotron also. Yep.
Good.
So it looks like most of these skips that they're gonna do is gonna be the hunter skips. Almost always you do a hunter skip because you can basically immune any damage and you can get away with feigning and getting back up. We did see Snurk go down doing that skip on the side of None of the Above, but Progress doing it very cleanly. Everyone going really low here on Chimeron, but that's just one of the boss mechanics where the boss brings you basically down to 0%. And so just literally, it's actually looking really, really clean here from both sides. Everyone is looking really, really juicy. And the damage, look at the damage over here on Progress' side. They're just absolutely pumping. Brooke, does anything stand out to you? What are you thinking about everything going on so far today?
Oh, I mean, it's been such a ride. Progress having that wipe was so unfortunate, especially because they came in such a strong place, having taken the world first recently, having come off of previous victories against Noda. But Noda came in and they're going, hey, we might not be progging all the way through Cataclysm, but we are going to go out with a bang until our next chapter, right? We're gonna still be doing things clearly, but we're gonna do this Cataclysm raid and absolutely annihilate it. And we're seeing them do exactly that. But Progress also bringing those deeps. They are not out of the running yet. And I just really hope that they can continue to narrow this margin and we can see both of these groups coming up on Neff. I mean, it looks like we have deaths on both sides about to happen here, Crix.
That's actually part of the mechanic for the boss. There's a mechanic that knocks everybody down to 10k health, so it's part of the mechanic. It just looks like they're about to die doing it. Progress did just kill Arcatron. They're going to need something to happen with Noda to be able to catch up to them at this point. If Noda just keeps doing this clean, there are a handful of skips left, so you can see, but these skips are kind of harder to mess up. And like I said earlier in the beginning of the broadcast, like Bastion of Twilight is where those skips are harder to do. These ones are kind of, plus you see him running down the corner, everything right now.
Snurk, and Snurk gets dazed. This is actually one of the more intimidating ones. The entire group wants to get by, but will he be able to get out of position and stay alive in time? Gets charged here. He's gonna go down, but did everybody make it by? I think so. Thompson also.
One, yeah. That's fine because they can just mask those up top right there.
Yeah. That one is
the other direction.
Oh yeah, they're gonna go. Just going the other direction right away. Did they rocket boot down? I actually was glued. My eyes were glued to the skip over on the side of Noda. It went a little bit wrong, but that skip can be really sketchy because the patrol, it depends on where the patrol is for how long you will be able to immune the damage as the hunter. So it's a similar situation that we'll probably see Progress go for. Now we're seeing None of the Above is moving in, or Progress moving into Maloriak, which is another fight that actually takes a ton of damage. This is another boss that has a mechanic where he can take extra damage. They're bloodlusting right off of the rip. All of these bosses, this raid is so fun as a DPS because they all can just get pumped down. And like literally, Archimedes is going to be the same thing too, whereas Noda is dealing with these packs. You have to fight two separate packs before fighting the boss here for the right side. So is trash you have to deal with. Everyone's going to have to deal with it. And as you take down each of the mobs, there's like 4 in each pack. The rest of the group that you're fighting gets a buff and gets brought back to 100% HP when you take down one of them. And they also get a buff of whatever the mechanic of each of the mobs was. But the first pack is going down here on the side of Noda, while Maloriak is at 33%. They're like
melting right now.
Bleeding it.
Notice Yolanda's damage. Yolanda's fan favorite. Just got a harder rage, by the way, too. One of the best trinkets for him, too. He's actually got like 4 pieces of loot from the raid alone.
Yeah, he's getting ultra kitted. DJ has pain suppression on him while he's tanking here. He took a ton of damage on the rip of this pull. They went instantly. They didn't wait for his debuff to go away. And look at that Maloriak. It does have a lot of ads that spawn, but on Progress's side, they're literally not going to deal with anything ever. And you don't really need to get into a phase where you need to burn those down. They're just pure DPS on the boss in this competition. And now that boss is down, they're catching up. It's going to depend on how well they can pull off that skip that we saw get a little bit sketchy from the side of None of the Above. Stead running ahead of the rest of the group, and we're going to see, oh, they are going to the left now. So they are going to do a similar situation. And yeah, kind of going to the similar situation, going towards, which boss was it that they fought first? Yeah. This is a long distance, though. It feels like you lose a little bit of time in transit time going all the way to the left instead of just moving in one direction. But they'll probably have someone move and initiate an F right away, and everyone else just try to jump right down. Progress is about to pull Chimeron, or already made it all the way towards Chimeron, and you're going to see Stead initiate the boss fight. You have to run to the back, and you have to release this little gnome or goblin guy, gnome, and then we are going to see this boss on the right side is one of the coolest bosses, I think. There is this RP where they have to wait here while RP happens, but the boss comes down. It's a blind dragon, and you have to use these gongs around the room to basically stop him or stun him from doing his abilities, because obviously as a blind thematic boss he is susceptible to sound damage. But using the gongs also creates the boss getting weakened and taking more damage. So they're gonna probably use up the gongs as much as they can. These ancient dwarven shields we're seeing. So this boss will take insane amounts of damage once they start using it. They'll just end up chaining it too, because I think you might have an unlimited number when you aren't fighting it on heroic. So the boss,
it's the same amount. You just have half of those when you're on heroic, but since it's just normal, they have all the gongs. The gongs also reset sound. You can't tell, but there's a sound meter that everybody has, and some mechanics give you sound. Like you see these swirlies going on the ground, you run into it, it gives you sound. Your sound goes up. You can use the gongs, typically used during searing flames on the ground, and it also resets the sound too. And then you'll use it in the air as well.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're even going to get an air phase. They're pumping this down. Chimeron already at 23%. The DPS on the side of Progress is actually, I feel, much higher. So they're catching up quickly. They definitely can catch up, although Archimedes is already at 40% also. Chimeron going down, literally Progress will just have to kill Archimedes. They do have to deal with the trash pack, which is what
sets a long one.
Yeah, so they just have to do one skip here, which we'll see in a second, to see if they deal with a trash pack in between getting to the next boss. But they all have just that last boss, Archimedes, before moving on to Nefarian, which, as we mentioned earlier, is going to be the scariest one. Cab is ahead of the rest of the group. Cab probably is actually going to pull everything and then run to the side. The patrol is really nice. You can see it on the left side where the patrol is really close to the entrance room. And I believe, some people get aggro I think they're going to do a death skip then. It looks like they're going to actually have everyone go down. And since Cab made it through past everything, they will actually resurrect everyone inside. So yep, that is what we're seeing here on the side of Progress, a death skip where Archimedes is in his air phase. Like I said, he
barely got an air phase too. Did you see that? He went up in the air at 9%. Like they barely got an air phase with that.
They're taking it down, and this will now be moving on towards Nefarian, which is, this is like a absolute blast. They are moving so quickly, and again, they have so little gear. They have done one round of heroics. That's it. And the rest of it is just fresh characters. 316, 333 is the type of gear that they're using, and it really just brutally shows that with clean play, you can absolutely get through all of this really quick. Snurk also doing another skip for the rest of the group, so they have to run
an amazing job with these skips today too.
Yes, yeah, very, very clean. As long as no one gets threat, Thompson makes it through. He's a little bit scared in the back there. Snurk is gonna make it in, and yeah. So actually, no, they don't have Nef. They have to deal with Maloriak. So they're actually really, really close. This is actually a lot tighter of a race, but Maloriak did get deleted on the side of Progress. We're going to see if Noda is able to do that too, whereas Progress on the left is dealing with that trash pack, the first one. that I said.
So the trash packs take so long too. It sucks. It takes forever to kill that trash pack because there's 4 adds, but you can't cleave them because when one dies, the other ones just heal back up. So there's no point in cleaving. So you're just spamming single target into one, kill them, and then go through all 4 for 2 packs.
Yeah, seeing all of these skips, seeing how they're pulling everything, Rook, from the side of like someone who's playing mostly retail and other games like with MDI and everything, does this remind you of that at all? Or like what is your takeaway from this competition so far?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that same kind of hype, that pressure that every second counts, watching as they're trying to figure out where they can go ahead and recoup this. I mean, it's the exact same thing. And you might think, hey, maybe I love Mythic Plus in retail, but being able to see on the opposite side that even if you're mostly a retail player, Classic still has so much to offer, and you can get similar experiences by doing these kinds of challenges. It's brilliant to see, and you can also just witness how much time and energy and skill both of these teams have put in with Progress and None of the Above. Because man, just looking at them execute, like you were saying, it's not just about the gear, it's also about what you bring to the table, about your own skills and knowledge with the game. And it's awesome to see them just tackle these as they continue to just power through. It gets me hyped. I'm like, I want a speedrunning Classic now, Sarth.
Crazy how if you see the time at the bottom, how close on all these bosses that their kill times are. They're like a few seconds apart besides the dragons and the council wipe area. I mean, the council wipe area, times on all the kills are so close.
Some of them are exactly the same. Look at Alec here, is 2 minutes and 33 seconds. And that is a fight that can be really, really long. Maloriak getting down to 8%. As we're seeing Thompson, like I mentioned earlier, I said that like you do have you kind of have RP on the last fight, right? Like on Nefarian, you do have an RP you have to deal with right at the beginning of that to even initiate the fight. They do take down Maloriak. Thompson got into position. I think he's going to go forward. Yes, he does, to get there as fast as he possibly can. So as long as this is very clean, he's going to click this little orb and everyone's going to be like ready to go. And Thompson into position. Right as it's initiated, gonna get the click. He's gonna just die here. Yeah, he's actually
because he uses invis to go through here, so they're just gonna res him down with the boss.
Yep. So they're gonna be ready now. They need to make it through another skip a little bit to get into position. Vasco did aggro. I think Vasco accident. Oh, you know what it was? He went for the soothe, and it might have resisted. So
yeah.
I think they would rather do a death
couple
skip
seconds.
They might actually deal with this. Oh, this is where Progress can catch up, guys. They have to actually deal with this dragon. They're deciding to actually down it. They're deciding to actually take it down, which is so much HP. So much HP. It's possible as long like Progress is only 40% behind, right? On one boss that takes extra damage. They have bloodlusted, but this boss takes a ton of damage. They're gonna see how low they can get it before it air phases. Again, like you said, that Noda got it down to 9% before it went into an air phase.
Before it's in the air, yeah. See if it's anywhere close to the same. Definitely did buy him some time on here, but I don't know.
What do you think?
They still want to do another skip and click the orb. I mean, I think the only thing that can happen is an F wipe or something bad to happen on Neff, but I don't see that happening with how good Noda is as well.
Definitely let Progress catch up on Nefarian here. You fight on Nixia right at the beginning. 2 bosses that you deal with in classic World of Warcraft, Nefarian and Onyxia. Really exciting that they brought him back in such a cool way. What strategy do you think they're going to employ here? Because this is actually a unique fight that you can deal with different things.
Progress is running there right now. Noda's going to get Onyxia low, separate him, and start fighting Neff like you typically would see. You want to ignore all the ads that are coming up here. And then they're just going to wait for the portal phase when they can get on the pedestal. And now they're going to get Onyxia low as they can get it and then let her live and then go on Neff. Doesn't look like they're separating though. It looks like they're keeping them stacked up. Progress says the same skip that they just saw. It looks like they might have to fight the pack as well.
I think they're going to do a death skip again as well. I believe Cab... Yeah, I think Cab got ahead and got to a safe place. So I think they're going to have to do that again. Actually, Noda took down Onyxia right away. They didn't even wait for phase 2 or to like do more damage to Nefarian. Once you take Onyxia down, you enter into phase 2 maybe phase 3, where you have to, the room fills with this lava and you have to get on these little platforms, and then you have to take down these ads that are constantly casting an AoE blast wave, like just on repeat. So you need to interrupt all of them, be assigned to the 3 different platforms where people can DPS the boss Nefarian, but you can see he's at 94%. Every 10% HP on Nefarian, he will do a lightning AoE that just does insane amounts of damage to the raid. So you can actually get a little bit more
abs
scared.
Melted just now.
Yeah, this boss is getting
Crazy.
pumped. They're going to phase it right now. They're going to probably use raid-wide CDs on every one of those 10% swaps, whereas the boss is going to be tanked probably by Windy, and then DJ will just pick up any of the ads that respawn from phase 1.
It looks like Noda has this secured unless something goes horrifically wrong right now. It's kind of hard to happen right now, so it's going to be close, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And they're melting right now. Jeez.
AMS going out for Noda on the right side, using the anti-magic zone so that everyone runs in during that phase transition. You're seeing Snurk move in also another 10%. Every 10% is intimidating. On the side over here for Progress, we see the same thing. Onyxia at 1%. They're actually... Did they end up keeping it alive? No, they took Onyxia down also right away, and then they're going to move into phasing Nefarian. The lava filling up the room, getting onto their platforms, and they're just going to down Nefarian. The normal strategy, you don't really need to try to cheese damage onto Nef by splitting up the bosses in phase 1. It kind of ends up costing more time, but it makes the fight easier, which on Heroic is really, really sketchy. And you see DJ just sitting in position here, waiting for these ads to respawn. If these hit you, they do so much damage. He's going to kite them around slowly, Snurk through a frost trap over there, and he's face taking all of them.
Yeah, he's just tanking all of them. They got a lot of help if they need to slow it. I've seen a Ring of Frost out once. Other than that, I don't have too much. Look at his damage. Look at his health. I mean, his health is like not even moving from these, where normally they would just be chunking your...
Yeah, as long as these don't get enraged, if they do hit that fire, they will just end up like pretty much just being beasts. He's moving them perfectly and making sure that they're on the side of Nefarian, because Nefarian also does a frontal breath, but the rest of the group is pumping 33%, and they use Bloodlust. Full send. The boss is going to be taking so much damage here, and DJ is just going to keep moving around the room, while at the same time Windy moves where the boss is facing around the room. And again, since the boss takes more damage, they're going to get another lightning shock in like a couple seconds, where they have to use big CDs to keep the raid up. They've already used their Aura Mastery. They've already used their DSAC. They do have an Aura Mastery. They have a Spirit Link, and so we'll see if anything needs to happen here, but they are pumping it 6%, 5%. None of the above is looking really juicy here. That huge time cost, there it is. That is the W for Noda, solidifying the win for the speedrunners. Congratulations to None of the above for taking this competition. What do you think lost it? I was going to say, but what do you think lost it there for Progress? That was crazy.
What do you think? I mean, what do you think? It's the wipe. I think that I think they should have lusted the pack before Council. That was the big one, right? Obviously, the elemental packs. They almost cleared it all, but they wiped at the end of it in that pool. Whereas where Noda lusted it, and they easily did. I think that if Progress would have lusted it, they would have had it too. There's a couple things like they didn't soothe that first Drudge, which I don't know if that's 50% Nef difference on time, but it would have helped a little bit too. But mainly just a big skip. I mean, the wipe that we saw right after or right before Council in the room. That's like that was the defining factor of it. Like we said in the beginning, both these guilds are the best at what they do, and it's going to go down to who messes up a trash pack, and that's Progress was the one who messed it up.
They were, but man, this was close, and it was amazing to see how much time Progress was able to get, like watching that just narrow down as they got into Nefarian, even with Noda having such a lead. I mean, Noda, they are our champions, they are our Dragonslayers here with the Dragonslayer challenge that we had, but at the same time, I mean, Progress, great showing, bringing it up, getting Nefarian now down to 10%, and even though they did not win this particular one, I have no doubt they're going to keep showing all of their skills, while None of the Above gets to just absolutely bask in this victory. And I mean, Sarth, you have to be happy, because you were over here like, yeah, I'm in Noda, I might be cheering for them. I mean, are you excited to see them bring this home?
I am. I think it's just gonna be it's like the competition today, it's like a friendly competition that's going to be like a fun, like little jab. Like Holy Palace Sway is going to go in and get so many world records with Progress. He just went in and got the world first with Progress. A lot of players are all going to like do little jabs at each other. This is a great showing from both teams. And it really did come down to exactly what we were thinking. It's can you pull off all of the skips perfectly? And it was really, I'm curious when we end up talking to some of the teams, is did they decide not to bloodlust that pull specifically because of all of the gear that Visp got, right? Because this allowed them to say, we can actually pull off living during that pull, even though originally we were thinking of pulling the whole room and using bloodlust to make it more consistent. Now we are pretty geared on both the healer and the main tank. Let's just go for it and use that bloodlust on the boss to save some time. Instead, it was either saving time or survivability. That risk reward factor is everything in speedruns, and choosing that. So I'm just so excited on everything that happened right now.
Yeah, that was fun to watch.
Yeah,
I knew it would go down to the skips and the trash packs, and there we are. It was a skip and a trash pack. They'd had the same routing for all the dungeons or the raids, except for where they went right at Blackwing Descent versus left, and that seemed to give them some more time because they caught up a little bit, but it just wasn't enough. Not the kind of from that wipe.
Yep.
The wipe takes too long. The resing, the buffing afterwards.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. And even with that little bit of a mistake towards the end over on Nota's side, right? They had to fight that dragon. Took a little bit of extra time they weren't expecting. That narrowed it, but it wasn't enough to totally close that gap, even with Progress's huge deeps. I mean, they just weren't able to bring it home. But, I mean, Nota had such a clean run otherwise and just went through one after the other, just executing. And I mean, we talked a lot about the skips and how that might be some of the most interesting of the gameplay elements, right? Normal, the bosses are pretty much going to play out the same way. You just have to get through them. Although with the eye level, as we even saw on Progress's side, there's still a margin where they can get you and you go down, you wipe, right? But Crix, did you see anything with the skips that stood out to you? Anything that was new? It seems like they were mostly skips you were expecting, right?
Yeah, there's skips that we've seen what we do in our normal raids. I mean, well, the heroic raids that we do in raids. So we kind of knew that both of them would do it. There's nothing too crazy that we saw. I definitely thought, I think Sar thought the same thing. I thought they were going to do a little boot, the rockin' bootin' cloak parachute across the way that we saw from Polar in the race, which was really nice, but they didn't need it. So yeah, but nothing too surprising here at all. Even damage wise, Alondo's pumping like we thought. The Warlock, Unholy DK, Survival Hunter, DPS looked good on both teams. Just went down to that one wipe.
Yeah, I'm curious because I know we all know, like for a fact, they've definitely timed out that rocket boot and skip, where basically, if anyone doesn't know, that elevator that they waited for at the beginning of this dungeon right here, you can use rocket boots to gain more momentum and speed, and you can use a slow fall and make it all the way across this entire room and move right into the dragon boss. So they really probably timed out and decided that, I mean, they definitely would have timed out everything, right? And decided what would be the fastest potential way to get through this. And none of the above actually just went in here, did more skips, whereas Progress dealt with some trash. They probably even could have caught up. This was incredibly close, but none of the above pulled off more skips, which actually kept leading them ahead even after that wipe, whereas Progress ended up dealing with some of the trash. So that was the big differentiator, is like fight literally nothing and just fight the bosses, and if you can pull that off, it's going to work out well.
It did. I mean, it worked out.
That you saw?
Oh, man. I mean, honestly, I was surprised that Progress had that wipe, right? I mean, like we were saying, the bosses seem to be something that, as long as you know the mechs, these teams they've run it 1,000 times. Progress literally was doing the world first for it. So, I mean, I was surprised that we saw that wipe, but it just goes to show again that even on normal, when your gear is this low, you can have mistakes that contribute to this. But of course, as we also saw on the flip side of that, you can also still clear the raid. I mean, they came back, they did it second try, and then they made up an enormous amount of time just by playing excellently. But none of the above. They just were so clean. Every single thing that they were doing, it seemed like they really had it down. They had it practiced, and they had really narrowed down that margin for error. And as we see here, the winning team, all of our victors, the Dragonslayers, standing before our fallen Nefarian.
Crazy is the gear is like these teams just did this in less gear than pretty much anybody in the world probably did it at. By the time the raid came out, nobody had this.
Literally.
And then, like you see, Alondo absolutely hard carrying the DPS as a warrior with minimal
Wano
gear.
got like all of the drops though. The crazy, like one thing that is it stands out so much to me is like everyone on this team, the none of the above and progress, but both of these teams are so scripted, so good at speedrunning. There is quite literally no other team in the world that really comes close to them at being able to pull things off. And Noda has forever just been the most consistent at not messing things up. Like back in OG Classic, they would always keep getting world records, and some other team, potentially Progress, sometimes Salad Bakers back in the day, would be on pace to get a new world record and mess one thing up and slightly mess it up, like, or lose anything. Whereas Noda has always just been so clean, and that's what they pulled off here today. There was literally one mess up with that last skip with that dragon that definitely could have cost them, or did cost them time, but it just ended up being so clean, and they really pulled this off.
Yep.
They did, and it's great to see. Yeah, I mean, well done, well done. None of the above are Dragonslayers, our champions here, and we're coming in for an interview right now with Alondo. And take note, we have our leader and our MVP on the team, and we're so excited to celebrate with you. Congrats on this victory, both of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So, I mean, I know you've just come through this big event. I know you've just come through 2 days of full-on blast and incredible competition to see, though. But we have to ask, you know, Alondo, how does it feel coming through this and emerging victorious here with this competition?
Feels pretty good. I don't know if we really expected it, because, like, a lot of my team just didn't even play Cataclysm. Like, they didn't plan on playing Cataclysm. So it kind of feels good to come in and beat Progress, especially since like they won the tier 11 race.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Take, how does it feel? Are you feeling good coming off of this victory?
I'm feeling incredibly good. I am looking forward to my burger later tonight, for sure.
That's what I was going to say.
We asked him yesterday what would he do with the money, and he said, get a burger. That's what he said.
Yeah, it's just one burger. You know, $30,000. That'll buy you more than one, I think, like we said.
Yeah. Are you going to get a webcam? Alondo, how are you going to celebrate after winning this? Congratulations on the dub. How does it feel? And yeah, what are you going to do now? Like, what's the rest of the day look like?
I got to gear up my Warlock because I have to raid later. Because, you know, this is all I do.
Hey, gang. Okay.
That's
amazing.
So true.
Well, you know, Take, I hope you enjoy your burger, and Alondo, I hope you enjoy, you know, everything coming up and celebrating yourself, honestly. You know, we wanted to ask Take, so obviously we brought leader of the team on, yourself, but we also have the MVP. So you gave Alondo MVP on the team, and we're curious, why was that?
I mean, I think he deserves it. He's a man who always tops the meters and never does any personal mistakes, really. Plays flawlessly almost every single time, so he deserves it for sure. And not to discredit anyone else in the team, of course. Everyone else is playing incredibly well, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, it takes the whole team to pull it off, but Alondo, I mean, we were the whole weekend just talking about how impressive your performance always is. I mean, what's it like to hear that you've been voted MVP on the team?
I don't know. I feel like they're doing it to mess with me.
A little bit. Was Wendy like, it's got to be Alondo?
I mean, as soon as they heard the interview, they're like, oh, that would be very funny if we made him do the interview.
They were just pinging me, telling me to tell you to do that accent, too. That's funny. You did it.
Amazing. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have another question for them?
Yeah, what did you guys think? Like, so it came down to really pulling off more of the skips. What were the things you were nervous about going into today? What were you like happy that went well? Because I'm curious, and we'll start with you, Alondo, and then go to you, Take Note. But like, what were like the things you thought could be potentially cost you in the run, especially because the Progress team is playing more Cataclysm than you guys are?
I mean, there was like, we could have wiped on any of those pulls. The big one was the Ascendant Council trash pull, because like I had to AoE taunt, and if I AoE taunted and frontaled the raid, we would have wiped and it would have been my fault. So that was like my concern.
That was actually the
where it
pull that
seemed like
Progress did
probably
wipe on.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
Yeah,
the
they
sketchy
did
one.
wipe on
You got in the
that.
progress part, but they wiped on that. They didn't lust the trash back. They wiped right there. Hard wipe.
Yeah, it's nice because we took a warrior and they didn't. So like I felt that I was being useful by using challenging shot there. So it kind of
It's like,
justified
I'm
the
bringing
spot.
something.
I mean,
Yeah,
the damage
nothing.
justifies the spot. Look at the damage, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's huge. I mean, Sarth, Crix, did you have any more questions specifically? Crix in particular, since we haven't had you chat yet. Are there any questions about the gameplay that you saw with Noda that you wanted to ask these two?
No, I like everything I saw. It's kind of what I expected from both of them, besides the wipe, obviously. So, no complaints. I loved watching it. I already knew Alana would be up there. Knew Take No would be up there. Two of my favorite streamers to watch. Shout them out,
Like, what
Top of the
were
top.
you nervous
the
about?
crop.
What I was nervous about?
Like, what did you think would have been like, could have set you back? Like, just like Alano's, like that one pull, he had a huge role. Is there any sections of the raid that you thought like could easily be the thing that could have messed it up for you guys?
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of spots where it could have messed with us, but luckily, we do have a retired officer who taught us very well in ICC about the CEO mentality and to always go in with a winner's mindset. So I wasn't really worried at all.
I love it. That mindset making all the difference. Just gonna visualize it,
Exactly.
manifest it, make it happen. I love it. I mean, it was an incredible run. Did you feel like, Alando, your MVP, was there anything that coming out of that, maybe minus one little thing we saw towards the end that didn't seem to go exactly right? Was there anything else that you were kind of like, we could have improved on this? Or did you feel like this was really a solid performance? We brought it and, I mean, you did bring it. You clearly did. You won.
It was basically perfect. Like our testing, it might look easy, but in our testing, like we messed up and died a lot. So it's for sure like not as easy as it looks. And
Yeah.
that skip is just weird because that dragon will pulse and it slowed our hunter, and we've never had that happen before. And he just died.
That looks so
Oh.
sketchy.
And that dragon
Slow.
also, and that dragon right before Nefarian, like he just evade bugs. So we were trying to mind soothe it, but we couldn't evade, or we couldn't mind soothe it, so we couldn't walk by it because it was evading. So we tried to like have a hunter pull it out, and then I think Wendy yelled, "Feign death," and then he feigned early, so we just had to kill it.
You honestly, you made it look easy, even though we know that all this practice goes in. We know, as we were even talking about, those skips can go wrong, something can go wrong, or like we saw with that, trash pack over on Progress's side leading into that boss can also cause problems, right? But man, it just seemed like things were just going in your favor and you were all bringing the skills to back it with every single one of those. So it was awesome to see. Sarth, I think there's another question coming up. Did you have something else you wanted to ask?
I want to say congratulations to both of you guys, and I'm curious, just how does this experience today, speedrunning into Cataclysm, compare to your original experience in Cataclysm? How does it make you feel compared to your old raid memories in Cata? And take note, you can take it first.
I mean, back in 2010, I didn't even think this was ever going to be like a thing, so it feels kind of weird, but I gotta admit, like, speedrunning is so much fun. I love it so much. I love pushing my character to the limit with all my friends and just seeing how fast we can do stuff. It is an incredible amount of fun.
If I recall correctly, you guys weren't going to play Kata, and now you are. I think what changed your mind? You just guys liking it more than you thought you would?
I mean, I didn't really have high expectations because I didn't remember too much back in Kata, but then I started playing the beta a bit. I'm like, oh, this is actually really fun. Oh, this spec is really fun. Oh, I like this now. Yeah, this is really fun, and it's grown on me now. I really, really like Kata. I'm gonna play it a lot for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's one thing I feel like the community didn't have was not too many people were hyped about it, and then when the beta came out and the raid testing, people started like really falling in love with it, which is nice to see.
For sure.
Yeah, Londo, how does this compare towards your memories back in Cataclysm?
Well, when I played Cataclysm, I was like, 13? At the start of Cataclysm, I kind of just transferred servers just to do Arena. And in Classic, I've done no Arena, so I have no comparison, really. My only...
You didn't enter these raids beforehand.
I mean, I did. My memory is kind of spotty. Like, I remember tanking Nefarian on my warrior and, like, tanking the ads and kiting and stuff. And I remember some of Dragonslayer, some of Firelands, but it's all super spotty. I am having fun, though. I think Cat is... really fun
Yeah,
right now.
that's the most important. I mean, honestly, I love that you mentioned that because it goes to show that even if you played originally, there might have been content or other stuff that you hadn't really gone into as much that now going back to it, you can get into, you can enjoy, you can, experience a different aspect of Cataclysm or Classic and still have a really amazing time. So I'm glad you've been enjoying it and that you've been diving into the PvE side more as well, having come from PvP. That's awesome to hear. Well, we don't want to keep you both too long because obviously you've had a big weekend. You've been doing a lot. You need to go get those burgers and celebrate. But we did have one final question. We have two phases, or excuse me, we have the second phase coming in Cataclysm soon here. And of course, phase 3 will be happening with Firelands, and I know everybody is super pumped about that. We've already been talking about it as well. So we have to ask both of you, and we'll start with Alondo this time. What are your plans for the upcoming phases of Cataclysm?
I don't know, leveling all my characters and getting as many staves as I can, the legendary stuff from Firelands, and just, killing bosses, doing big damage.
Love it. And Take?
Same for sure. I'm playing Kata so much, enjoying so much, so I might get into some more speedrunning things as well. Maybe some 10-man speedruns in the future. I think that could be very, very fun. Just gang up with 9 other of your friends and do speedrun 10-mans. I think it could be great fun, especially in Firelands.
Yeah, I'm curious if the competition reignited a fire in some of the players that weren't gonna play Cataclysm, because it got me really hyped, and being able to see the team get back together and progress through it, even though some players are quitting. Did anyone change their mind? Are you gonna are you excited? Are other people gonna do it? What's the plan?
Starts waiting for Nodok to come back.
Yeah, I think some of the people who are kind of on edge, I think they might be coming now. I think they're seeing the light.
You love to hear it. Nice. Awesome. Well, before you go, really quick, we want to give you a chance to shout out because I know both of you stream. So if you want to shout anything out, any of your channels, any content, take note. Please feel free. Let us know. Where can people find you?
I stream almost on a daily basis on Twitch, Techno TV. And I want to shout out basically everyone in our guild. There are so many people who have played in our guild who deserve this spot today. So big shout out to everyone. There's many, many people who deserve this spot, probably more than me. And so yeah, big shout out to them.
And Alondo, anything, where can people find you? What kind of shout outs would you like to do before you go?
Oh yeah, I stream on Twitch, same as my character name on screen. I just want to shout out the guild too. They kind of, I didn't really do much here. I just showed up and pressed my buttons. They did all the organizing, and they invited me and allowed me to play in this. So it's all them, It
paid off.
Also, shout out Blizzard. This was fun.
Hey,
yeah. If they do a Firelands version of this, would you do it?
Oh yeah,
we'll do it and we will win.
They should make us do it in green.
Okay,
they should make it heroic.
Yeah, heroic next time.
Greens.
That's what they should do. Yeah. Heroic Firelands 10-man speedrun would be gas.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I hope we see you. I hope we get you back. I'm excited. We'll be cheering for you absolutely to claim that victory, though I'm sure Progress is going to be wanting to claim one of their own after this defeat. But seriously, thanks to both of you, to the whole team, to everybody that helped make it happen. And congratulations again on being our Dragonslayers here. We'll let you go and we'll wrap up the event, but congratulations, none of the above. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Congrats, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Big dub.
Thank you for having us.
And with that, the WoW Cataclysm Dragonslayer Challenge comes to a close with none of the above, proving that no one was above them for this one. And even with progress, making so much progress to try to close that gap, unable to completely nail it, bring it home. But you know what? They've got a lot of victories under their belt too. And I'm sure next time, I know Crix is over here like, man, come on.
No, I like Noda too. I love friends. Like Alana, take another good friends of mine. So it's like, it's friendly.
No, you love to see it. The teams, honestly, for all that we have these rivalries, for all that everybody wants to prove something, right? At the same time, we're all part of the same community, and gotta love seeing everybody interact, support the content, and be hyped about the game that they love in whatever form. So it's awesome to see. And Sarth, Crix, it was also awesome to be on desk with you this weekend. So seriously, thank you so much. It was great to hang. Sarth, do you have any final thoughts about the competition this weekend you want to share?
I'm so happy. I'm so thankful to Blizzard for putting on this esports competition and getting these two absolute legends in the classic scene to come together. Shout out to Progress and Noda for coming together and putting up such a good fight here today. And thank you for everyone that watched. Rook, you are phenomenal on the desk. You're such an amazing host. And I'm sorry for yapping during the raid because I just get so hyped. But it was a really, really fun one. The speedrunning community is such a happy group of like everyone's friends and competing at the top level. So it's so fun to have these events go on. And I'm really glad and hope to see more of these in the future, especially with more of Cataclysm and Season of Discovery. So we'll see what happens. What about you, Crix?
I also am really hoping they do something for this for Firelands. I think it'd be cool, or any kind of racing involved in the classic scene would be great. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. Shout out Blizzard for doing this. I know some people don't like that it was normal, which I'd just be happy that they're doing the event. In my opinion, I like it and I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here with my boy and Rook. You're amazing at this. You see me, I'm just quiet until someone says my name and then I talk, or you ask me a question about whatever, and that's about it. But you guys did great with this. So yeah, shout out Blizzard, shout out Both Progress and Take Note, or not Take Note, yeah, but Noda, both of them doing great.
Yeah,
they made even the dungeon races seem, well, it wasn't a race for the dungeon, but they made even the dungeon portion fun, which is pretty cool.
They did. Honestly, no, it was great to be here with both of you. I love when you both just pop off. I sit over here, I'm like, this is so cool. I can tell they're hyped, getting so much insight into Classic, and hopefully helping to bridge that gap for those of you who might have been thinking about playing Classic. Maybe you come from retail like me, and you're thinking, you know what? Now I'm hyped. Now I want to get in for Cataclysm, and I want to experience it. So I encourage all of you to do it. But, couldn't have done it without both of you, Sarth and Crix, and your yapping was amazing. So you know what? You're both great. Great to be on desk with you. Don't leave it.
We're used to the yap,
Yeah.
The yapping from Sarth is...
the team also, I just want to say, the Blizzard esports team that puts on these events are so good. So shout out to all of you guys. Thank you guys for having us. Happy birthday, Hannah, and congratulations, Adrian. You know what?
And late birthday, Rook.
Thank
happy
you.
Late birthday,
A few days ago, yeah. On birthday.
Yeah. And chat, thank you for being here with us. Honestly, great to have you. Great to have the community surrounding and supporting these events, and to hear everybody's thoughts and excitement over the weekend. We love it, and stay tuned in for much, much more. Cata Arena is coming up next weekend. It'll be on the same channels, same start times, but there will be an extra day. So this will be starting on Friday. So if you want to get that arena side of things and you want to experience Cataclysm from another angle with its content, be sure to tune in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for that incredible broadcast. Again, thank you so much, not only to everybody here on desk, but to Blizzard, to our production team, and to all of you that watched. Tune in next weekend. But until then, enjoy Cataclysm every second of it, and look forward to the other stages that'll be coming soon.